Yeah, once again, this is the second part of the first session in this master class. Now we are going to be talking about pre-data analysis management. This simply means the data analysis management, or what we do when we get hold of our data, or what we do after data sourcing. The data will be in a very raw form, and we would want to have it in a meaningful way. Now, before we can have the data in a meaningful way, or that's after analysis, we need to make sure our data is treated and it is made to be in a manner of which it will give easy access for analysis. Now, the first thing I'm going to be talking in pre-data analysis is the mining of the data itself. The mining of data simply means how we get our data. We can get data in so many ways, but how it relates to research is by methods such as interview. We can get data via interview. We can get data via phone calls, via focus group, like I've explained earlier. We can also get data via questionnaire, or via going to the field to run samples, such as biological samples, in most cases for biological research, where we have to go and collect samples, then go to the laboratory to run the samples and get data. Now, this data we are getting can be in two forms. It can be qualitative or quantitative. It will be qualitative, like I've explained in our earlier slides. Let me go back to that. It will be qualitative if it is in category. For example, malaria infection. Malaria infection can either be positive or negative. Those are the data you can get. So that a person or a subject is positive to malaria, or the person is negative. Now, it's not measurable. That kind of data is not measurable. It's either it is positive or negative. But in a case where biological data are determined for qualitative analysis, quantitative analysis, quantitative analysis in the sense that you get a continuous variable from the result of your data. For example, is the blood pressure of respondents or study subjects, the glucose concentration, blood glucose concentration of your study subjects, and so on. So those are the two types of data you can get from a qualitative and quantitative type of research. However, regardless of the type of data, there is data sourcing and data mining. Now, the type of data sometimes, or in most cases, influences how this data will be gotten. So, for example, questionnaire is one of the most used means of collecting data for research. However, there are many type of research, especially some, not all, but some quantitative research where you cannot use questionnaire. However, questionnaire is still remain one of the most widely used method of data collection. In this class, we are going to be using electronic questionnaire to source our data. If we remember, before this class, everyone was asked to fill or to undergo a pretest. That is a form of a questionnaire. Is a form of a questionnaire, and it is electronic because it is via the electronic media, which has been widely used nowadays and has been in a way effective. So we are going to be talking about how we mine our data or we source our data from an online Google form and importing it into Excel and preparing the imported data for SPSS. Now, these three tools that we're going to be using accept data in different forms, but the ability for us to be able to manipulate and maneuver our data to be compatible with it to makes pre-data analysis in it. Now, I will be sharing with us the page for the pretest for this morning. These are the questions. Many of you have answered correctly, many not. Guess many also guessed. And we had 9 responses, as you can see. We had 9 responses. So opening it now, and Google usually summarizes everything just to have an insight of what is really going on. But we are going to analyze it ourselves. So we need to download or we need to extract the data from Google, or that's the data that every one of you have provided. Now, doing this, you just go to this green ribbon here on the Google form and click on the 3 dots. Click on the 3 dots by the right. On clicking, you go down to download responses. So we are clicking download responses. It will download it in zip file. We click OK, and it will download it. Now, I haven't downloaded the raw data in spreadsheets, but in zip file. We need to open the containing folder where it is located in the laptop on your system. Then you right click on it, this is it. Then you extract. I'll repeat myself again. The 3 ribbon, you click on it, you download response. Then if you are using this type of Firefox, you go to your downloads. On the file, you right click and open containing folder. Something like this will be up, and you need to extract because you cannot open this zip file, so you need to extract it. So you right click again and you now click extract file. You don't need to click on anything, you just click on OK. Now it will open another file for you in form of a compatible file. You double click. So I will copy this to my desktop because this is now the file. So I'll copy it to my desktop so that it will be located in my desktop, and I paste it on my desktop. Because there's a file there bearing that name, so I will just replace it. Now it's on my desktop now. So I will just go to my desktop. I'll go to my desktop to open it. This is its assessment. So I will open it, open with Excel on desktop. Very sure almost, or even maybe every one of us has Excel on his or her computer. Now, this is how it's going to look like. This is how it's going to look like. These are the responses you all gave this morning before this class. You can see this. So now we're going to go back to our, we will go back to our slide, because that's the guide of what we are really doing today. Now, if you notice, we are now talking about mining of data. Now, in other case, if you don't mine your data the way we just did, you can mine your data manually, maybe collecting of hospital records, maybe running of the test yourself, maybe on your patients, maybe on the laboratory animal, and after running it, getting results, and now manually filling it in spreadsheets. All these are still mining and generation of data. Anyhow or any process, you get your data. We have some people who use the manual method of questionnaire by going around and giving out questionnaire to target study subjects. That's also a means of generation of data and or data collection. Now, we are going to go back to our spreadsheets, where we are going to be talking of how we are going to be importing the data from Excel to SPSS, from Excel to SPSS, from Excel to SPSS. However, we cannot just send in the data in the form we got it from the Google form, like this. We can't send, we cannot copy this and dump it on SPSS. So we need to make some adjustments. And what are the adjustments? The first thing is that for me personally, I would like all my information on this spreadsheet to be clearly stated, to be clearly, as in to be clearly shown, so that at a glance I can know all the information in each column. So what I do is that I like to highlight this column by placing my cursor on the A, then placing my hand on the left click, on the left click of my mouse, and then dragging to the right with the other hand, just to highlight it, just to highlight everything. You can see that this is where it ends for the data. Secondly, I would like to auto adjust everything I've highlighted by placing my cursor here and double clicking. I'll repeat myself again. After I've highlighted everything, like I've said, I'll place my cursor here in a manner which it shows the double-edged arrow or double-faced arrow, and I'll double click immediately. Now you will notice that everything has been spaced out in a manner which I will be able to see every information at a go or at a glance. So it will so give the space of each column in a way that the largest number will be covered. The largest number will be covered. Now let's go to the next thing. For the purpose of this class, we may not be able to input every data here, but we are going to input the most important one. We are going to input the most important one. Now, so we are going to select just few of the information that are really of importance. I think the first one I will pick is the age. I will want to pick the age. So I've highlighted it and I will copy it to a new sheet on the same spreadsheet, but just a new sheet. I'll paste it here. I'll copy, I'm going to copy location. I'm going to copy location and paste it here. I will copy what again? Let me copy gender. I'll paste it here. I'm going to copy, I'll copy, I think I should copy this one, the course of study as well. Course of study, I'll paste it here. I'll also copy total score. And last but not the least, let me see what I can copy here again. That is of very paramount importance. I think everything is, I think we are good. I think we are good. I think we are good. I think we are good this way. I think we are good. We are good this way. So now this is the data we're going to be working on today. As usual, it's all choked up. It's all choked up like I said earlier. So I want it to be spaced out in a way that at a glance you'll be able to see all the information on the data on the spreadsheet. So I'll highlight it from the top. And don't forget, till you have that double-edged arrow or double-faced arrow, then you double-click. It's all spaced out. It's all spaced out. Now I'm going to open another sheet just in case. I will rename this. You know, this is right-click and click on rename. We are going to call it. We're going to call it analysis 1. I will rename this to be analysis 2. It's just for convenience, actually. Just for convenience. So on the analysis 1 page, you know, there are some things we need to do to this data. Sometimes you may have data where they're not going to be in order, and for you to have your data in SPSS, it has to be in order. It has to be in order. It has to be in order. So for example, if you have some that maybe sometimes you may have something like this. You have capital letter in between words. Between words like this. Like this. Yeah, capital letter in between words. Something like this, and it's really odd, and you need to clear them. Sometimes it's through mistake, maybe by typing, especially when you are inputting this manually. Sometimes you may make mistake and just, type wrong caps lock. And so during data cleaning or data treatment, you need, in preparation for data cleaning or data treatment, in preparation for SPSS imputation or export. I repeat myself. He said during data cleaning are all these things we are doing for our data to be clean and for information to be regular and well distributed, or data editing or data treating. All these things we are doing, we are treating our data, is the beginning of treating our data, just for us to be able to export it into or import it into SPSS. So that's the reason why we are doing all this. So the first thing we are going to be doing is we are going to adjust this. We are going to need to adjust these irregular cases, or these capital letters, or these capital upper cases. We need to make the cases regular. And so I think we are. So one of the things we are going to deal with again is editing and cleaning of our data. Now, I want to further irregularize this data. Let me put unnecessary spaces. Sometimes you may notice that your data will have unnecessary spaces, especially if you are typing it manually. You may want to remember, or you may want to note that sometimes you might data inputting may warrant a situation where you are going to input your data yourself, especially when it's not questionnaire, when you don't have to download from Google Form. You know, when it is manually, you may have all these kind of things if you are the one typing it yourself. So I want to create a scenario where you need to make a lot of adjustment. But look at this. Now look at this data. It needs adjustments. We can't leave this location like this. You cannot impute this into SPSS. It will give you a whole lot of problems. Now, what do? We are going to be using some functions to clear this out. We're going to be using some functions to clear this out. And the first functions the first function we are going to be using is to I will want to cut this out and paste it here, just for easy, just to make it easy. Now, in Excel, before you can run a function, it is very easy or very good if you know a lot of formulas or functions offered, but if you don't, the little one you'll be using, you should know them frequently. But if you don't, just know the few ones you are going to be using. But in this one, the first formula we are going to be using is we're going to remove all these spaces. There's a formula called trim. So how to use this formula is that you start with equals to in Excel. You only start your formula or your function with equals to. Equals to trim. Equals to trim. See, it's already stating that trim removes all spaces from a text string. Don't forget that the definition of string simply means a data that is worded, like all these female, male, public. They're all in string formats, but these ones that are in numbers, they are in numeric formats. So now it removes any space, unnecessary space in string data, except for the single space between words. So we are going to be using this, and this is how we use it. So it's going to be trim, open brackets. You just click on this, because this is what we want to remove. We want to remove the excess spaces between cross and river. So we click on it, equals to, I repeat myself again, equals to trim, open brackets. You click on the column with the data, then you close your brackets, then hit enter. You can see that it has been adjusted. It has been adjusted to in a manner which there's only a space in between. Now, having done that, it is always easy if you've done for one and apply it to the rest of the member of that column. And this is how we do it. You place your cursor on the outcome, and my outcome is this new crossover that we've just generated. And you now place it in the lower ribbon, small tiny ribbon in the lower part of this column. When you till your cursor turns to a plus sign, you now right click. You now place your hand on the long press your left click and drag down. It will apply to all other member of that column as seen. Now, another thing again I want to do to this variable is that I want to make it all capital letter. For example, you can see that we have some irregular alphabet here where we have uppercase and they're not supposed to be found there. So what we do is that we are going to remove them. And we're going to use another function known as the upper function, which is we are going to press equals to upper, open brackets, what we want to change. And we are changing this, not this anymore. We are dealing with this. So then we close the bracket and hit enter. You can see that it has now all changed to capital letter. Now we want to make everything in uppercase down the column. So all we need to do is just, as usual, we place it at this bottom right till it gives a plus sign. Hold, then drag down. You can see, so easy, so easy. So even though you are dealing with a whole lot of data, hundreds of data, this is how you do it in split seconds. Now, we are to copy this back into this location. We have to copy it back into this location. But I want to give you another hint or another function. Just in case you want to, you don't want it in capital letter, maybe you want it in a case system where you have only each word is being capitalized. Each word is being capitalized. In this case, we are going to use the proper function, which is like this, equals to proper. This is how it's spelled. Open brackets, the data or the text, then close your bracket, hit enter. See, so it has capitalized each letter, the beginning of each letter. Then you can also, as usual, drag it down. So it applies it to every member of that column. So we are now going to copy this back to this location. How do we do that? If we copy it like this, it will make problems. So there's a special way which you're going to copy it. If you are going to highlight the data to be copied, Control C. Now don't paste it here yet. So don't paste it here yet. Now, you don't paste it here yet, and with Control C here. So all we need to do is just to special paste it. So we click on this place, on the ribbon down this paste icon, then we go down to special, paste special. Then we now click on values. Then we click OK. Let me do that again. Paste special, values, OK. You can see it's now back in there. So basically, we really don't need all this one anymore. So we can highlight it and delete it. So we've really worked on this data. So we need to clear the, I don't know, maybe we should just remove the states. The states, just remove them. Just for easy, just to make it easier. Just to make it easier. So now the next thing to do is to, I think this ed science should be here. Let's say our data is like this. Economic science. And let this be, this is going to be medicine. Okay, let's make it like this. Now, not this one. It does need to adjust it. Okay. Now, having removed that, we've removed all the unnecessary. So I want us to also adjust this gender as well. Let's adjust it. So as usual, you all know what to use. Let's use the proper function. So it's going to be equals to proper. If you want it in lowercase too, it's going to be equals to lower. So for this, you are using proper, so it's equals to proper. Then this main, close your brackets, hit enter, and just drag till it becomes plus sign, then you drag all the way down. Now, we are going to copy this. You put your cursor where you want to paste, then you now go to this drop down ribbon for the pastes, and you paste special, click on values, then okay. Now you can now clean up. And if we didn't do that, if we just paste it straight, the moment we delete this, it will delete too. So, and we don't want that. So basically, these are the information we want to analyze today. And we basically imported it from Google Form, and we've tried to clean it as far as possible. And we've tried to, we are in the course of treating it right now to be ready for a SPSS format. Now, I want to remind you what SPSS is, how it looks like, and on what platform does it works, and how the way it works. The way it works. Let me share the page with you. SPSS is something like this. I'm very sure everybody all has SPSS on this PC at the moment. No. This is how it looks like. It's loading. Now, this is how SPSS looks like. Now, if we are to paste anything here, we would need to define it here. It's not like Excel. And most of the time, SPSS do accept numbers. But if it will accept words, it will need to be defined. You can see it's giving error. The moment I want to type word, you see, but if I should type numbers, no matter the numbers, it will accept it. But the moment I want to type any word, it will flank it. So it means we need to make it to understand that he said that it is a string. String simply means words. I've talked about that the other time. So he said that we make SPSS to know that it is a string data or variable, or we convert that string to number, which SPSS can identify. So I'll clear this. Okay. Now let's go back to our Excel spreadsheet. This is our Excel spreadsheet now. Now, I'll be coding some of the, basically what it simply means with my explanation is that we are going to leave any data that is in form of numbers. We are going to input it directly, but we are not going to input any data that is in form of words directly unless we define it or we state to SPSS that the SPSS should leave it as string. However, you have to be very careful when allowing your data as string, because sometimes there used to be duplication. Because if the spelling is not correct, maybe we have another medical laboratory science as MLS, SPSS, we accept it as string, but we count it as another variable. It won't count it as medical laboratory science. It will see it as another variable. But if at DBN we have turned all medical laboratory science as well as MLS to a number, we've assigned a number to it. SPSS will be reading that number, not medical laboratory science. So let's go into converting some into numeric data and some leaving it as string. For the case of this class, we are going to be converting gender into numbers, and we are going to be leaving location as string. We are going to be leaving location as string. So, and we are going to be converting course of study into numbers. So basically, we are going to be leaving, just because of learning, we are going to be leaving location as string. Now, that means I will leave location, but I will go to gender. Now, I want to change all this on Excel. I want to change this to numbers. How do I do it? I want to assign numbers to it. First thing I will do is, so that I won't forget, I will need to state it. So I want all female to be replaced with number one. So anywhere we see female, SPSS will now see it as 1 after assigning or coding. Second one is for male. We are going to assign 2 to male. Now, how do we now do this? By mere typing on display doesn't mean we've assigned it. But we need to remove all these male and female and be replacing them with 2. Now, if we are to do them manually, you may have 1,000 data. You can't be doing that manually. So how do we do that automatically on Excel? It's very easy. All you need to do is scroll down, home, on this home button, you scroll down to find and select. Click on it, find and select. The second button, ribbon, which is the replace function, so you need to click on replace. Find what I want. Excel to find female. Now you have to be very careful. You don't start with male first when you have female, because female has a word that has to do with male. By the time you change male, it will change that of female as well. The male spelling in female, it doesn't recognize space. So it will change it to the best thing to do. The best thing to do is to replace it with replace female first. So we are going to be replacing female. Find what? It says find what? Find female. Replace it with what? Replace it with 1 and replace all. Now, all done. It states that all done, that we have made 5 replacements. So out of 9, 5 replacements has been made. If you notice, even the female that is in our code here has been taken off. So let's just, this is not for anything, it's just for reminding sake. Male. So let me just repeat it. And we are going to represent male with 2. Let's replace all. So this time it must be 4. It must be 4, but because we stated male here, so that's why it's popping up that. So we've changed gender. It has been coded into numbers, and we know what we represent each one. This is male, and this is female. So female are represented with 1 and male 2. So that is how we code for categorical variables. So this is prepared. We are preparing this for SPSS now. SPSS can now see these numbers, these two numbers. I told you location for the sake of learning. Ordinarily, we will have changed Cross River like that, the same process to 1, just to 2, 3. Oshogbo, the 2 Oshogbo is going to be 4, 5, and so on. Likewise, but for the case of understanding and comprehension, and for the sake of learning, so that in case you want to use string during your coding, then we are going to leave it like this. We are going to leave it like this. So, I will leave it like this, and we are going to now send it into, but mind you, the one in words must be treated as string. Now, before we can go into the SPSS, we need to save this. I will save it in my desktop, and it will be called sample data class.